then I don't know, I guess we can consult the bylaws and see how many votes we need, but I think we need him. And if he's not here, then those particular cases, I guess, would have to be moved to next month. Let's see. Okay, so let's call this meeting of the Flint Historic District Commission to order August 5th, 2021 at 5:30. It is now 5:38. And if we could have a roll call.
Commissioner Bernash.
Here.
Commissioner Hurley. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Commissioner Nicewinder.
Present.
Commissioner Scapani.
Present.
Okay, and moving on to the next agenda item, the Member Remote Announcement Open Meetings Act. The Assistant City Attorney is here.
Yes, I am here. All boards and commissions must adhere to all laws established under the Michigan compiled laws and in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020, and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending the meeting remotely that he or she is attending the meeting remotely, and except for those in military service, stating his or her physical location.
Commissioner Bernash.
Heather Bernash, attending remotely, Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Hurley. Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis attending remotely, Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Wright.
Commissioner Wright attending remotely in Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Nicewinder.
Commissioner Nicewinder attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Scapani.
Commissioner Scapani attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Okay. And moving on to the next agenda item, additions or changes to the agenda. I do know of a couple that I can start off with. Let's see. Applicant Derek Dorman, the description is wrong on that one. The bottom of the second page of the list of applicants, it says roof tear off, and it's not a roof, it's a driveway. So it looks like it was just copied and pasted from the one above it from Jonathan Hardman's application. So that description should just be replaced with installation of driveway. And then I believe the bricks, the Saginaw Street bricks, is not on the agenda as well. So that should be added to the end. So applicant should be City of Flint, I assume. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong. Property owner would be City of Flint. And then Saginaw Street brick restoration project.
And Commissioner Bernash.
Yes.
This is John Mateen. Just wanted to share too that Mark Adis is here to present that application. He
Perfect.
requested to go first, if it's okay with everyone else and the commissioners. I just wanted to share that request with you.
Okay, well, and at this point, I think we're gonna have to bump. It would probably be wisest to bump applicant Nicewinder and applicant Scapani's projects to the end anyways, waiting for Commissioner Hurley to get here. So we can certainly do that. So other than those two two corrections, the description of applicant project, and then the addition of the bricks applicant. Any other changes or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, if there's a motion.
A motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Support?
I support Commissioner Davis.
We have a motion with support. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda is adopted with amendments. Minutes of the previous meeting and disposal. I think we all should have a copy of the minutes from the July 1st meeting. Everyone can just take a moment to review those, and if there are any changes or corrections, just feel free to speak up.
Everything looks fine to me.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I make a
Motion to
motion to accept the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are adopted. And now we move on to the next item agenda, hearing from the public. This is where if anyone from the public is present that wants to speak about a project that is not on the agenda, this would be your time to do that. If you would like to speak about a project, that's when you would speak, is when that project is being discussed on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak or make any statement regarding anything that is not on the agenda? Okay, hearing nothing, we will move on to certificates of appropriateness. First up on the agenda would be the applicant, City of Flint, the Saginaw Street Brick Restoration Project. Is there anyone here to present on that project?
Yeah, this is Mark Adis. I've got Kevin Cook, our engineer for this project, will be helping to discuss the bricks.
Okay. And normally, if we were in person, the applicant would sort of stand up and give their little sort of spiel about what the project entails and maybe pass around any drawings or samples or whatever. And then it's sort of a free flow where we just kind of shoot questions at you guys. So if someone would like to just kind of give a brief sort of overview of what you'd like to do.
Yeah, sure, I can start.
Great.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Cook. I'm a civil engineer with Wade Trim. Our office is in downtown Flint on Saginaw Street and 2nd. We came before the commission earlier this year primarily to present, not a formal application, just to present our plan. At that point, Saginaw Street is going to be reconstructed from Court Street north almost to the river, the entire brick roadway section. It stops just south of the bridge deck at the crosswalk to the park. Our original proposal was to salvage as many bricks as possible and put them back. At that time, we anticipated about 60% of the bricks could be reused. Our intent at that point was to repave the 3 travel lanes with brick, that is the north and south lane and the center turn lane, and the parking and bicycle lane, the outside lanes would be replaced with concrete. after our presentation to your body, we pursued an application to SHPO for clearance. Because this is federally funded, we are required to get SHPO clearance. SHPO maintains that while the bricks are not a designated historical district, they're eligible for designation. And they feel that not replacing all 5 lanes in kind would detract from the historical nature. So the city has pursued supplemental funding, and we believe that that is in line. It's not confirmed, but it's in place through the stimulus dollars. And we're returning back to your body along with SHPO, a revised rendering to brick all 5 lanes. It will be the same configuration that's out there now, with the exception of the intersections. Due to the turning maneuvers, we feel that the heavy vehicles, when they turn through the intersections, push those bricks around. So we would like to put a colored stamped concrete of some form. We haven't chosen the stamping pattern or the color. We're certainly open to interpretation to that, to help preserve the intersections. And then in addition to that, the crosswalks that are now striped over the bricks would be a traditional poured flat brushed concrete, similar to the sidewalks. We think this promotes safety from a couple of aspects. One, it's easier to walk on, especially for the ladies in their heels. We do hear a lot of that. And second, it'll be much easier to see. As the striping peels off of the bricks, it can be difficult to see. This will be a permanent, visually will stand out better and last longer and be smoother. We shared a rendering as part of our application. I hope all of the commissioners saw that. It's not unlike what we provided last time, with the exception of the outside lanes will be brick. Because so many of the bricks are damaged and we think we can only reclaim about 60%, we will be purchasing salvaged or reclaimed bricks from other sources. There's a couple of firms in the Ohio area that specialize in this. So our intent is to match as close as we can, and their recommendation is to begin to mix them as we salvage so that it all blends together. It doesn't look like 2 completely different patterns, but apparently it's not uncommon. These folks do it regularly. So with that, Mark and I are open to any questions or comments you may have. We have applied for a certificate of appropriateness, and as I understand, the committee chairman modified the application to indicate our request.
I do have a couple questions. When you initially started your presentation, you said it's not a historic district. Did you mean it's not a federal historic district?
That's our understanding, yes. I don't know how, what designation the city may have, but we understand.
It is a local historic district.
A local historic,
which is
correct.
why you're here before us.
Yes, correct. SHPO would require us to come before us, local agency as well. But yes, from a federal register, it's not listed, but it's eligible. And because it's federally funded, they're treating it as if it was listed. So, but we understand locally, yes, it is.
And then the cement is a much, I guess, harder surface than the brick would be. And so does that pose a problem with the row of bricks that will be butted up directly to the cement? Are they going to crumble and need to be replaced more often when you have a softer brick surface rubbing up against a harder concrete surface? I don't think the bricks are any softer necessarily. They're just smaller and move around. They may actually be harder than the concrete after it sets. But if you're referring to the plane where the bricks will butt up to the new pedestrian sidewalk, right? It'll be the same as they are up to the existing curb line. That's the same material. I'm looking, if I'm turning, I apologize. I'm looking out the window. I'm trying to talk from the visual. I can see the street. So,
yeah, the bricks butt up against a concrete curb right now.
And there is some poured curb and gutter through the intersection that it's flat just for the water to flow through. And that's a standard concrete that you would see on most roadways that the bricks butt up to. So we don't anticipate a negative impact by being placed adjacent to those. They should actually help to hold it in place.
So when you say it's gonna go almost to the river.
It stops, if you look, I probably don't have authority to share a screen, do I? I doubt it.
Is there an intersection or just a landmark, a building?
Well, it's just north of the riverfront in the pavilion where the bricks, when you're coming southbound over the bridge, when you come off the bridge deck, if you've driven it enough, you get a good bump. It's just south of that bump in the road. So it's,
So, because
it's at
there's, that's actually what I'm asking about, because there's already a patch job there. There's,
that'll come out. Yep, that comes out.
Circuit.
okay.
Yeah,
That's what I was
uh,
wanting to
that
make
was-
sure that the patch job in front of Churchill's and then the patch job in front of the bridge are
Yeah.
both gonna be fixed.
Yes.
Yep, they're both within the project limits and will come out and be restored.
Okay. And then my only other suggestion, I mean, I'm sure you all are aware, but it appears that the side streets were also brick, because in front of Dryden, I don't know if that's first or second, but there's some of the asphalt is missing and you can see brick underneath.
Yep,
So I didn't, if you're ever tearing up the side streets, maybe save those bricks, pull those out and use that, because they are the same, they are our bricks. So if you're ever digging on those side streets, maybe save those bricks so you can
To
use them.
say, anytime we run across bricks, we try to save them.
Yeah,
Currently, there's probably about 20 different types of bricks in the city. There were some on Beach Street, but they're not anywhere near the same as Saginaw Street.
right.
And we try to save as many of those just in case we could use some of those. But, we do, anytime we tell our crews they come across bricks on other streets, we try to save them just because we'd like to have replacements on Saginaw Street.
Yeah.
as part of the road reconstruct, we're going to transition east and west into all the side streets and redo that from the crosswalks to the east and west to match up to the existing pavement. So any areas where we pull that out, we'll grab those bricks as well.
Okay. And I know funding is probably the main driving force here, but do you have a timeline of when this is going to happen?
Next spring.
Yeah, spring of 22, assuming we get everyone's blessing. But yes, the plans are progressing. They'll go through the local agencies all the way to MDOT this fall for a winter bidding, and then fall or spring construction will begin.
We're trying to get a community grant through the congressman. We have another option. We're hoping to go before the council. I think probably next council, not this Monday, but the following one. We're trying to get a budget amendment. If we get the budget amendment we want, we'll have the money to put forward even if we don't get the funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then our approval is good for a year. It expires in 1 year. So if you need to come back, as long as the project is not changed whatsoever and you're just asking for a renewal, it should just be a matter of course, just like a rubber stamp.
Just for our knowledge, if we start the project, are we good? It's a
Yep.
year to start.
Yep, not a year to
Okay.
finish, just a year.
Okay.
You have to have it started within a year of the approval.
Because this may take 2 construction seasons, depending how we phase it. We haven't finalized that. So
Right, okay.
The-
And then, so you're saying all 5 lanes brick, and the only thing that would be not the original brick would be the intersections, the pedestrian crosswalks and the intersections.
yep, everything inside of the crosswalks.
And, and in those intersections, the purpose of that is to actually preserve the bricks so that you don't have to do this
If-
whole rebuild as often.
If you
Yeah, the
drive
car's
down-
going. Go ahead, Mark.
If you drive down Saginaw Street now, anytime you come to an intersection, you'll see the bricks are turning sideways. That's because of the movement of the tires are pushing the bricks, and it's like a chain reaction. And you'll see big curves in the bricks going usually around the intersections, you know, where the bricks have been shifting. We're trying to eliminate that. So the bricks in between should stay straight and look better.
Out of curiosity, though, I have a question about, so because we currently don't have the 4 intersections paved in concrete, so the bricks, I could see the bricks sliding about, but if you're bordering the intersection on 4 sides with a concrete, a concrete formed crosswalk, wouldn't that kind of create a structural border for the bricks if we did brick in the center of the intersection? You know, so if you're bounding the center of the intersection with 4 walls of concrete, wouldn't that be enough to maintain the intersection from sliding?
No, I don't think it would bleed out, I think.
But where would they go then?
Yeah,
Through
that
the
crosswalk's
concrete?
only, 4 or 5 feet wide. It's only going to have influence through a handful of the bricks in the width. After you get past that, where it doesn't have any more influence, I mean, there's constantly gaps, and they just continue to move. It's primarily, as you drive straight, it's simply a load, right? And the cars aren't that heavy. But when some of the worst vehicles are the garbage trucks, right? The heavy loads, and they turn the force on the wheels when they turn. It pushes, it rotates and pushes the bricks out. So that's what
So if we're saying there's cement for the crosswalks, but if there's brick inside the middle of the intersection, inside the square of the cement crosswalk, that those bricks would still end up sort of twisting and churning?
Yes, we believe so, yes. Yeah.
They can fracture and twist and turn and break off. This is Commissioner Scapani. My concern would be, to me, the sidewalk stands out like like a short thumb, and kind of takes away from the whole look of the brick. I mean, is there any way to make that blend in more?
Yeah, certainly that could be colored as well. That's a relatively small, small amount of the project. If the commission desired that the crosswalk be, a lighter or darker, we do like the idea of an accent, and we like the idea of it being smooth. But as far as a color, that's not an issue either. We would try to accomplish as many pores as we could so that the color is maintained, through the whole roadway. But
yeah, my thought would be is if it was the same color, at least when you're taking photos of cars and all that, whatever things happening down there, it wouldn't stand out like a sore thumb, and you wouldn't notice that change as much. And I don't know, I guess the aesthetics of what the bricks would look like with that crosswalk in the background, I think it would just, I don't know, to me, that's one of my big concerns.
Mark, I'll defer to you, but I don't see an issue with coloring that.
No, we can color it.
Yeah.
And we'll do a lot better job than the city did with those patch jobs. I yelled at them when they did those, and they did a terrible job. I apologize.
It could be the same color as the interior area of the intersection, and just not stamped. That's a possibility. Or again, something a bit different, but still in the the reddish earth tones.
Typically what they'll do is multi-color, they'll add different shades of colors so you for that model.
I mean, when you look at historic structures, you look at historic things, I mean, a lot of the keys also with that are the photos that people are taking that are enjoying it. I don't know, as a person in the art world, that's what my eye is always drawn to. And I don't know, to me, when I look at a drawing, it makes the original brick kind of look fake when there's that, I don't know, big contrast in colors like it was. Yeah. So I think having that blend in would also just trying to tone it down and make it have that illusion that is still there, but still give the structural integrity that's needed to preserve what's there.
Right. Just that it looks intentional with the entire streetscape. I mean, even considering the
Right.
sidewalk, how the main part of the sidewalk is like a shimmery cement, but then the accents are like a green. There's like green trim that goes around all the trees and the thin line of like a forest green sort of stained sidewalk, just sort of taking into consideration the color of the brick and then what the sidewalks already look like, so that it all sort of flows together and looks like it was all intentional, meant to be together.
We are looking at replacing a lot of the sidewalks, and we can look at staining that too.
I would make a motion to approve the application as long as that sidewalk was dyed a more of a red color to match and blend in.
But will we need to see a sample of the red color to make sure I know that we know what the example should be? But I don't know once it's like with the stamped concrete, how much changes come about with the color, because I'm no expert on concrete at all. I know you can blend a color of your choice, but
And so the discussion thus far has been that it should perhaps be lighter in color visually, just to stand out for safety, so you can see it's identified as a crosswalk, and that there is a visual difference like a border. So I guess my assumption or expectation, what I would expect it to look like would be that it would be an orangey red, but lighter than the bricks. Is that?
Yeah, we can work with you on colorations. It's hard for us to do it at this point because until we get a contractor.
Would it be possible to appoint someone on the commission that we could work with to select a color, maybe outside of the committee meeting, and then they could report back to the commission once that was selected?
I think so. As long as it's not 5 of us or 4 of us, it doesn't constitute a meeting. So you can talk to 1 or 2 of us.
Okay. Well, maybe could the commission appoint someone to be the liaison and with the authority to approve the color palettes? That would be ideal. And then we could work, as we were working with the administration, we could work with that appointed representative. Also, it'll still be striped with the white. The crosswalk will be, just by standard pavement markings. So that's going to be
on most projects, we don't really get into paint colors and things like that, but this is permanent, and it's the colors mixed into the material itself.
correct.
So I think this is a little different, and to avoid you coming back, is that something the commission, I guess the rest of the commissioners would also have to chime in on this, but if, Joe's our local artist and he's the one that voiced the concern, perhaps he would be.
I would volunteer for that.
Okay.
if
Does
the
anybody
commission
have
allows.
an objection to that?
Oh, I would think the more ideal, we ask of all of our applicants to present materials, and if they have to change a material, then they have to represent for a certificate of appropriateness. So, I wouldn't see it too difficult to, once a contract is procured and a color palette is
We get to that
prepared,
point.
that we can have another meeting, bring it to a future meeting that we can make an approval or a review of it.
submit.
Would you consider a contingent approval upon us returning? We may need your
Right.
blessing to clear through SHPO. It would certainly be helpful. They're going to
Yeah,
ask.
we certainly do that. We can approve the project as presented with the understanding that once you have like 3 or 4 samples of color, just come back with those
Okay.
3 or 4 color samples. And you can certainly talk to any one of us, particularly Commissioner Scapani, in the interim to help narrow down those 3 or 4 colors, which one do you guys like the best, and just present, and we can.
I know the city would be happy to do whatever it takes.
Perfect. Okay, I think we can do that.
Yep, I like that idea too.
Can I make
We want
an
everyone to be
amendment?
happy.
Can I make an amendment to that motion,
Sure.
Heather?
Yep.
I would like to amend the motion that we approve the application with, to move forward, as long as they come back with the color choices after they get a contractor.
Second.
For final approval.
Okay, so we have a motion with support. Any further discussion?
No.
We have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes?
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes,
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I will be in City Hall probably next week and sign the certificate of appropriateness, and you guys should be ready to go.
Wonderful. Thank you for your assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Super happy, all 5 lanes of brick.
Just gotta find the money.
Okay. I think they left. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is applicant John Gwynn, property owner Danola Miller, address 312 Lion Street. Is anyone here to present on that project?
I am.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you were listening to the last applicant, but normally we just have you kind of give a little presentation on what your project is, and then we kind of shoot questions at you.
Sure. My name is John Gwynn. I work for Genesee County Habitat for Humanity. I'm the home repair manager there. So we have specified funding for exterior beautification in what is being called the Durant-Terry-Mott area, which now includes Carriage Town. So we did some rehabilitation work, exterior rehabilitation work in the 3 streets surrounding the Educare School with the last few rounds of this funding. And now that the area has been opened up, we've identified a few clusters in Carriage Town that we would like to do some rehabilitation work on. We approached those homeowners and submitted that we talked to them about submitting applications, and then I conducted a site survey to identify the work to be done. So this is the first of those 3.
Okay, so it says the roof is going to be replaced just with standard asphalt shingles,
Yeah, we'll use an architectural asphalt shingle.
and not, I can't, from the picture, I don't see any chimneys or anything, but not changing the slope of the roof or removing any chimneys or anything like that.
Nope.
House to be repainted, and so it's clapboard, right? It's the exposed wood siding right now.
Correct. Yep. And there are some deficiencies in that as you can see from the photos. So those will be repaired in kind with materials and then painted over.
Okay, so just replacing any rotted areas with wood.
Correct.
And then windows, any windows being replaced?
Not with this grant. We might come back to the commission with that, but I wanted to make sure that we had the funding available before we took that on. So no windows at this point.
Okay. So anything that's removed is going to be replaced with the same material and is going to essentially look the same, be the same scale, size, scope.
That's correct.
Any further discussion?
No, this is Hurley. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application as presented.
I'll second that. Commissioner Scapani.
Okay, so we have a motion with support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We can have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Oops.
Yes.
Sorry, may I interrupt quickly? This is Joanne Gurley. I'm sorry I was on mute, Commissioner Nash, but I think you were supposed to ask for any public comment before the vote.
Public comment? I don't remember ever asking for public comment before. I can. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing
So-
none.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so hearing no public comment and no further discussion, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Okay, looks like motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, and so I'll be signing that probably beginning of next week, and then you'll be able to go over to BSI and get all of your permits.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, John Gwynn, property owner, Ken Van Wagner, location 314 West First Avenue. Is there anyone here to present on that project?
I am.
Okay,
So this is identical to the 312 Lion Street proposal that was just proposed in the fact that it is part of a cluster that was identified by us, and we approached the homeowner to apply for the program. Exterior beautification, rehabilitation on the existing structure as it stands with like materials in kind. I think the only change on this one in particular is the concrete steps that lead to the porch. Those are currently, if you'll see on the photos, they're kind of breaking apart and falling apart. The proposal is to replace those with a treated wood stair system.
So my question is, Commissioner Scapani, would be, how would that affect, is that the house with the retaining wall, the brick retaining wall on that?
Yes,
how would that affect that brick retaining wall on the side, the wood?
So I don't think that the stair system would be attached to that. It would be attached to the substrate where the porch is, behind where the steps are currently. So I can't imagine that that would have a negative impact on the structural integrity of those steps.
Is there a reason to not just replace the steps with cement?
Not in particular. I was just sort of looking at it from a funding standpoint, without knowing exactly how much the project was going to cost. I threw that in to see if we would be able to do that. I talked to the homeowner about it, and that was a suggestion that we made.
The porch floor, is it cement?
Yes.
Okay, because that's my concern, is just, I guess, cohesiveness, making it all, because right now with the stairs being cement, they match the caps of those half walls at
Okay.
the stairwell, and they match the porch floor. So it's just all cement, and it all looks like it goes together and has always been there. And
Right.
I'm wondering if putting wood steps in is going to look, I don't know, sort of chintzy or just funny, out of place, on this brick and cement structure. If like decking wood is going to look funny.
Sure. I can see that.
Yeah, I would kind of reiterate that, because it's what we see in the historic district in this particular case is clearly a concrete porch with concrete stairs. And typically when we review, individual projects like this, when we have evidence of what was there in construction, then we'd like to see the same material and finish kind of put back, because that's what we know exists. So I would think we would want to put concrete stairs back.
Okay.
That would just, and I know, cement in and of, I don't know how old cement is, but it's probably not historic in and of itself, but just, you don't want, I think, a hodgepodge of a lot of different materials all together. You want some sort of continuity and flow where it looks intentional, like it's always been there. And if everything else is cement, I feel like it should probably be as well.
Sure. So would I need to make that correction on the proposal, or is there a way that we could?
When the motion is made, it'll just be, someone would make a motion to accept your project
With that,
with the understanding that the stairs would be cement.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Does any of the brick need to be fixed or replaced?
Yes. So there on that retaining wall that Commissioner Schapani was referring to, there is brickwork that needs to be done there, as well as the adjacent wall on the porch itself. And I honestly, I think that all through the porch, there's some repointing that needs to be done. And then there's the column that needs to be rebuilt that holds the wooden column to the porch roof.
Okay. And so the brick and then the chinking in between the brick, it'll all be matched as best as you can, the mortar colors and the brick and everything.
Correct.
Now, there's no, this is Commissioner Scapani. If there's no public comment, I would like to make a motion to approve this with the cement replacement of the cement stairs instead of the wood.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support?
Second.
I'll
Okay,
support.
we have a motion with support. Any further discussion? I see the application includes replacing some of the beadboard ceiling on the porch, so that would just be replaced with like as
Exactly.
well.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any comment from the public?
Hello, this is Kate Surface from the Carriagetown Neighborhood Association. I would also just want to speak in support of this project. I'm really excited to see this house get some love. It deserves it.
Okay. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nightwonder,
Yep.
Commissioner Scafani.
Yes.
Okay. Motion is approved. And I'll be signing the certificate of appropriateness next week, and you'll be able to get your permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernash, this is John Mateen.
Yes.
Just wanted to point out a chat message that we just got. It's from Joel Arnold. It states, if there is an opportunity for public comment on the Saginaw Street bricks, it would be most appreciated. Just wanted to point that out to you and let you make a determination on that.
Oh, certainly. Okay, well, we're done with the last vote, so I guess we can open up public comment with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks. We can go back to that project for a moment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks?
Yeah, thank you very much. Joel Arnold actually just recently moved back to town, resident, but I did have a question about that project. Is what, I guess two, one is if they're proposing, it looks like permanently getting rid of bricks at 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st and Kearsley, and then just how much of a reduction in sort of the bricks of Saginaw Street that is, because I don't know how widely aware it is that the project would include a pretty substantial reduction in the number of bricks on Saginaw Street and like a pretty noteworthy change. Again, was just curious about that, and if there's any of an idea of like how much of a reduction that is in Saginaw Street, which is now a totally brick street, which it looks like would become just a partially brick street.
Well, they came before us about a year ago with a project that would be 3 lanes of brick and 2 lanes of cement all the way down Saginaw Street. And they have amended that. So what they presented tonight was the full 5 lanes. So 2 driving lanes, 2 parking lanes, and the middle turn lane, all brick, all the way up and down Saginaw Street. So the only place that they would not be doing brick is at the intersections. That's the new project, the new proposal, which is a lot better than the last one. And the reason that they gave for not wanting to do brick in the intersections was because the heavy weight of vehicles now, when you're turning corners, particularly semis and trucks, it twists and churns the bricks and turns them at an angle and ruins the whole road. And then the whole road has to be repaired and dug up more often, more frequently. So the thought process was, if the intersections where the turning of the heavy weight of tires at the intersections, if that could be a solid surface, which would be most likely colored and stained to match the brick, if that could be solid, it would actually end up preserving the blocks of brick, all 5 lanes of the blocks of brick that wouldn't end up twisting and churning and have to be dug up and replaced ever so often. Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, the answer is I understand. Yeah, I guess their reasoning. I guess I came and I was kind of surprised because it does sound like, it's a pretty substantial change to the street. And I do wonder, and this is my own sort of question on this, if historic preservation denied shrinking lanes on the road from cement, sorry about the background noise, from cement to bricks, if why they would then approve eliminating all intersections going from brick to cement, like what the difference between those 2 points, and maybe that'll resolve itself when it goes before for like federal approval if it gets federal money. But
yeah, the reason why they were doing they were going from 5 lanes of brick down to 3 lanes is because they just didn't have any. They figured they only had enough brick to do 3 lanes, that when they dig everything up, they thought that 40% of the bricks are damaged and can't be put back. And they only had about 60% of good bricks, which would only allow them to do 3 lanes. And anybody speak up if I'm getting this wrong. And so that was why they were presenting the parking lane and the bike lane would be cement. And then they went to this. Yep.
The old proposal also, the center was the stamped concrete also. And along with the intersection was that stamped concrete along with the side. And they were narrowing just the 2 lanes in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
For the reason that you said, that was because of the brick. They didn't think they would have enough to do the whole thing.
Right.
So
and then
pretty much compromised.
They went to the state and the state told them, no, all of it has to be brick. All 5 lanes have to be brick or they wouldn't approve the funding. So
Heather,
they can now buy brick from other sources.
Heather, one other thing, just to be clear, I don't think we had approved or denied anything.
Correct.
At this
They
point,
just
that was just sort of a preliminary discussion, fact finding,
Yeah. They came to us just as a courtesy because we were seeing these patch jobs done and not getting a lot of explanation of what was happening. We were hearing rumblings that Saginaw Street was going to be tore up, and we had concerns that they weren't even aware that it was a historic district and that they had to come before us. So we had them come before us, just kind of preliminarily answer our questions and allay some of our concerns. And that's when they presented this project about, maybe 3 lanes will be brick and a lot of cement everywhere, all over the place. And I'm not to speak for everyone else, but I know I wasn't happy about that project, but it wasn't an official proposal or certificate of appropriateness that, an application. So we did not vote on it one way or the other. I don't think I would have approved that. And so I'm glad that it went back to the 5, that then when they talked to State Historic Preservation Office, who told them, no, it all has to be brick. You need to go replace the broken brick somehow, go find old brick somewhere else. And so now we're back to the 5 lanes, all brick. And then the purpose for the intersections is to preserve the longevity of the whole street, long term, so that we don't have to do this again for another 100 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, then I just, knowing that, thank you so much for answering those questions. I really appreciate it. And I guess my comment then, just as a resident, would be, I hope there's a way to actually preserve it all as brick. I think it's a very unique thing about our city. And if we were just looking at, what's the most affordable way to do it, it would probably just be to rip it all up and pave it, if we were just thinking about cost. So it seems like I can imagine a lot of people being shocked if they came to downtown and all of a sudden every intersection was just concrete, even if it's colored, color fades in 5 years or 10 years. So I hope there's a way to preserve it as all brick. I think it's a very unique thing for our city. And rather than us more going to a street with brick blocks and paved intersections, I think, it's a very unique Flint thing. And I hope there's a way to make that happen and for this commission to push for that, however possible, knowing that cost is a factor too.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick note. This is Kate Surface again. I feel like there are a few pieces of design in the city of Flint that are iconic outside of this community, and the bricks on Saginaw Street are one of them. So I would certainly hope that every bit of creativity has been poured into this process to find the best solution that allows us to preserve as much of that brick as possible. I would also think that because of how iconic it is, the issue of cost, there would be some solutions to that. It seems like there's a lot of folks that have positive associations with those bricks being there. So again, having as many of those even within those intersections as possible, with a solid engineering solution, of course, as well, to deal with the problems that you mentioned with the heaving of the bricks. But it just seems like there's probably more that could be thought about with that. I'm in cities all over Europe that are fully brick. They're brick in the intersections as well. So, and I'm assuming that those cities also have semi-truck traffic and stuff like that. And the last thing I wanted to say is I do appreciate the creativity of the stamped concrete solution, but I would caution against that, or against at least the examples that we've seen already in the city. There's some spots on U of M Flint's campus that have stamped concrete in sort of a brick pattern, and those began looking bad within a year of their installation. They the color began fading pretty quickly, and the actual indentations created by the stamping were faded pretty quickly, probably for the same reasons that those bricks were upheaved in the first place. So I don't necessarily see stamped concrete as being like a suitable alternative to just having bricks or pavers there. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further public comment with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks?
I would like to speak.
Certainly.
Just a suggestion. I know it's probably not under your guidance, but why can't we just ban trucks from downtown Saginaw Street? That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any further comments with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks?
I would just like to jump in and say that in response to the banning of trucks downtown, we have the bus system that relies on Saginaw Street pretty heavily and is necessary. But to follow up on Cade's suggestion, I believe we could look to Detroit as a positive example of engineering solutions to this, because they have a good portion of their downtown district completely bricked. And I know that was a several-year process for reconstruction, but that may be some examples that are locally, some local reference for what we could do as a solution.
Okay.
And that's all I have to add. Thank you.
So the previous speaker was Paul Herring, and then this most current speaker is John Hardman, I believe. Is that correct? Just for the record?
Yes, I was the latest speaker.
Okay.
Correct. I was Paul Herring.
Just for our minutes, just so we know who everybody is. Okay. And is there any other discussion with respect to the Saginaw Street bricks? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the next applicant, John Gwynn, property owner Ken Van Wagner, location 316 West First Avenue. I don't think we've done that one yet. Is there anyone here to present on that project?
I am.
Okay.
So this is another project in the same realm as the other two that were proposed. The difference with this project is we would be, in addition to replacing the roof and repainting, doing minor wood repair, is reconstructing the front porch on this house.
Okay, so does that mean a complete tear off and rebuild?
Yes. Well, for the most part. So my idea is to remove the porch railings as they exist and paint those separately, but fully rebuilding the porch, the structural portions of the porch, as well as the decking and the stairs, and then replacing the repainted railing to preserve the historical significance of that aesthetic.
So keeping the columns and the railing, like removing them, fixing the structure, the support structure of the flooring.
Yep.
And then putting the columns and the railing back.
Correct.
And the roof, will the roof remain? Will it be propped up, or tearing it off and rebuilding it?
Yeah, so there will have to be a temporary support built for that while the decking is torn off and the substructure is replaced.
And the stairs? and the railing and the handrails on the stairs, what will those be?
Those,
Can
those
I
will be
interrupt for a second? What address are we talking about?
We are talking
316.
about
Which
316 West
application?
First. 316 West First Avenue.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So with regard to rebuilding the steps and handrails for the steps, those will be rebuilt in kind with the same same architectural style.
So to match the railings that go around, similar
Yeah,
wood.
right. Because I think currently it's concrete steps
Yes.
with a wrought iron railing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it would be wood railing, and then the steps would be
Would be wood as well.
okay. And then the skirt right now, it looks like just a lattice. A
Yeah,
basic
so
lattice.
we would replace the lattice as it stands. I think that lattice is a little bit different than a standard lattice that you might buy at like Home Depot. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would be replaced with something that's as similar as possible.
Okay. And then the porch floor would be wood as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, John, Mike Hurley here. It looks like maybe there's like a half of a column missing, like as you go up the stairs on the right.
Yeah. So any columns that may be
Is that
are unable to be replaced with the columns that are currently there will be replaced with a column that matches the rest of them. So I can't really speak to the structural integrity of the columns as they stand.
but you know what I mean? There's a
Oh, I'm sorry?
No, I understand, but there's one that looks like it's actually missing. Like you've got a base of a column and that's it.
This is on 316.
Am I looking at the wrong picture? I thought so, yeah.
I'm sorry, which page are you looking at?
This is 316 West First, right?
Correct. Yep.
I think that actually may just be a half column that was original. Like it's not a broken column. It was just designed. It was designed that way. Are you talking about the one right next to the stairs?
Yeah, I mean you're going up the stairs and there's a column with
yeah.
maybe you're right.
Yeah,
maybe it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah, that's original.
Okay, that's correct as is. All right.
Yes.
And then any rotted wood siding is being replaced with like materials.
Correct.
And the slope of the roof is not being changed at all. Chimney is not being replaced or anything.
Nope.
Removed. Okay. Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve as presented.
And is there any support?
I'll support.
We have a motion with support. Any further discussion?
I just want to point out how, case by case basis, we have two buildings side by side, and we're asking for concrete to go back on one for the staircase, and then, approving wood as a replacement on this other one. And, it all just reflects on the sort of individuality of each structure and how it reflects the historic character that it originally, or sorry, not originally, but as well as we know it to be. So just wanted to point that out.
I agree. Yeah, there's no easy way to explain how we do what we do. We've got to see it and get into it and discuss it and come to a decision about what's best. And every house is a little different. And I agree. Okay, is there any public comment with respect to 316 West First Avenue? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. I'll be signing the certificate or beginning of next week, and you can get your building permits. Congratulations. And if you don't have any further, I don't think there's any further applicants. You're welcome to stay, but you're free to go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next applicant up on the agenda, Kurt Nicewander, property owner, Grand Flint LDHA LP, location 422 West First Avenue. Is there anyone here to present on this project?
Yes, this is Kurt Nicewander, and also I believe my client Glenn Wilson is here, and Michael Wright also from Communities First, in case they need to add any detail to our presentation. So for the Grand, so this building that we presented a year ago approximately, and the project is still moving through the process as far as construction and construction documentation. But while from the last time we presented, there's been a couple of changes which were inspired by a few different meetings with the Carrollstown Neighborhood Association to further refine the elevations of the building to respond to some of the neighborhood commentary from the previous design iteration. And so with those changes, we have resubmitted for a certificate of appropriateness to make sure that we are still well, because the design has changed. And so we want the HDC to review our revised elevations. There's a couple of things, on this project that I wanted to point out, just to clarify, clear the air on. So I received two from John Mateen, staff at the city. I received some letters in opposition to the project, and I wanted to clear up some incorrect information on those letters, just because I don't want to have this, have any misinformation out there in regards to planning, zoning, and the development of buildings, and especially this building. So just the first thing is the proposed project is designed in building zoning D2, which is, the city, excuse me, my screen's a little slow. Okay, so this project is on a parcel that is zone D2, and in D2, we are allowed to have 7-foot front yard setbacks. And so this building is designed to not encroach any further than 7 feet into the front yard setbacks. And so it was pointed out in the letter that it doesn't comply, but this building is in full compliance for the zoning ordinance as in regards to setbacks. This building also is in compliance as far as height limitations for D2 zoning, which is a 30-foot maximum height limit for the building. And so this building is no taller than 30 feet. And so it complies there. And also we are providing, and parking. This building is 100% compliant and meeting all of the parking needs and requirements for the apartments and the commercial functions that are designed in the building. So we are not below the required amount of parking. So I wanted to clarify that. And then we also are, we will be providing a play structure toward the north fence line in the back between the parking lot and the north fence line. So there will be some outdoor recreation space for families that live in the building. So the new design, sorry, again, my computer is a little slow. And so what we've done from the, sorry, who's that? What we've done from the last time we presented is we revised primarily, we have not changed the overall massing of the structure. We've just changed the choice of materials on the facades of the building, and then altered a little bit the proportion of windows and location of some of the windows on the exterior of the building, and increased a canopy, the length of canopy over the commercial storefront of the building. And so all of these moves are to respond to the neighborhood's concerns about scale, proportion, rhythm, and its sort of context of this building sitting in with the corner of University and Grand Traverse. And so the proposed new materials, which were part of this application, we have 3 colors of brick, 2 different body colors that are in the application. One primary body color of brick that's kind of a reddish, reddish orange color that's in our application. A accent band or an accent color of brick that's used as horizontal banding, as it's identified in the elevations that were submitted. And then we have a third color that will clad the commercial storefront areas and that sort of lower part of the building on the corner of University and Grand Traverse. And then on the rear side of the structure, sort of the parking lot facing side, we have reduced the material that we previously had, which was a sort of cement panel, but we're going to use a engineered wood product, pre-engineered and pre-finished wood product called LP Siding Systems. And that's going to clad, really it's only going to clad the second and third stories of the back side of the buildings, and then the third stories of the sides of the buildings that are sort of facing each other, right? So we have 4 buildings, and there's a portion of the facade that is at the top of the space between 2 buildings. So it's really minimized to where it's not the most visible places of the building. We're trying to emphasize the amount of brick that we've put into the project, but then shifted some of the non-brick, this wood material, to the less visible portions of the facade. And so I think that that response. Oh, and then we also have added some exterior parking lot lighting and site lighting. So that is also, at the time of the last presentation, we didn't have that. So I've included some pictures and examples of the product that we are proposing for the site lighting. And I think that covers everything that we've changed.
Okay, Mr. Niswander, I have a question. First of all, when this project was presented before, it was the previous presentation was approved by this body, correct?
Yes.
So can you talk about the changes from, and I know you talked about what this is, but what this presentation is currently, but can you talk about what you've tweaked? Like the windows are different, how? The colors are different, like what is it going from and to as far as the material and the color? Like, that's what we approved, and this is what you're changing it to.
Sure. Okay. So so previously, let's start from the corner at University and Grand Traverse. So what we call Building A, which is the longest building, and the one that faces those 2 streets. So previously we had a gray concrete block material on about 50% of that facade. And then we had, say, 25% of that facade had a brick material, and then another 25% or so, at the top story had a like a hardy plank siding. And then also we had a few different, or a couple, not a few, but a couple different window sizes. So on the first floor of that building, we had 6-foot aluminum storefront doors all across the commercial frontage of the building. Second floor, we had, patio doors, and then pairs of windows that were approximately 3 feet by 5 feet. Right. So we had a 3-foot by 5-foot window, and we had them shown in pairs, right? Side, sort of mulled together and side by side. And then the third floor, we had singular 3-foot by 5-foot windows. So in the proposed design, we have a similar pairs of aluminum storefront doors, but a new brick color. So instead of a concrete block unit, we have that it's a dark gray Belden brick that we have. And then above that, we have the main body color of brick that is a reddish Belden brick. So that goes up the second and third stories. And then we have more pairs. So what we've done is, expanded the paired window style, but we made them a little taller, right? So we have 3-foot by 6-foot tall window pairs. So, two per, well, I guess two windows and each sort of pattern of the facade, and then they stack again to the third floor. So those are the major differences that we've had, and then again adding some accent bands, horizontal accent bands of brick at the second floor level to help sort of break up the scale of the height of the building. Does that help answer that?
Yeah, you said you made the windows taller, not the building taller.
Right, just the proportion of the windows in our new design is a little bit taller and thinner, or they appear taller and thinner versus the previous design, but the building height is exactly the same. Because we've already gone through, so after the Historic District Commission, we were approved of previous design. We received a zoning board of appeals variance for the use of the building, and so that's so that we can have the mixed use apartments and commercial. And we also received site plan approval from the Planning Commission. So all of those approvals occurred last year at the same time. So we're on our way to head to the building department.
I have a technical question. So does the D2 zoning, does that replace the Department of Interior standards recommendations for having it set back from what the house is? Because all the houses in that area that I measured today are within 10 to 12 feet. So, I mean, does the D2 city ordinance override the Department of Interior standards? And that's what we learned in our training the other day, that it has to sit back from the other buildings.
Excuse me one second. This is Attorney Curley. Commissioner Shapani, could you just state your name before you go? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And
So,
this is,
sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nicemunder. My understanding is I don't think we even really discuss or consider zoning issue. I mean, that's not, we have no authority over that, and that's not our concern. I mean, we're here to talk about the historic integrity of the neighborhood, and zoning does their thing and we do our thing. And sometimes those rules line up and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they clash.
Right, and according to our training, that they're supposed to sit back within the same distance of the other houses. Which
so my question would be then, was the last proposal, what was the setback, and is it different now?
It goes right to the sidewalk. And that's been over here for their approval.
Because I don't remember, and it's been a long time, but I thought the proposal last year was 10 feet or?
Right up to the, it was right up to the sidewalk.
the previous design and the current design both were at 7-foot setbacks from the property boundary as
From the
per
road or
the
from the sidewalk?
D2 zoning. From
So these-
the back,
These are
so
set up further than the houses next to it, and it's going to block the view of two historical houses.
the well, the project meets so D2 zoning. That particular parcel is zone D2, which is a commercial zoning.
Right, but
And
you're
so-
at historic, that's a different, we're looking at Department of Interior standards.
Right. Well, but there is no, I mean, I think I would imagine the Secretary of Interior Standards defers to local zoning authority because there are no dimensional standards in the Secretary of Interior Standards.
It says in there that it needs a setback and align with the houses that are there. And the structures that are there are the same setback. And each neighborhood, each historic area is different. Ours are from the road, you're looking close to almost 20 feet from the road.
The residential parcels are zoned B, 2-family, which is a more increased front yard setback. I believe it's 25-foot setback for a B zoning. But this being a D2 zoning is allowed to have a 7-foot front setback.
Right, but I mean, I specifically asked the lady in the training if a commercial structure was put there and it was blocking those structures, would that agree with the Department of Interior Standards? She said no, it would have to be set back. Because you're blocking the view of historic structures.
I don't think that's a hard and fast rule that it has to be a certain setback, but I think if you look at Grand Traverse, what is the setback of that coffee shop there? That looks like it's right on the sidewalk. So I think you can.
Right, but the buildings around it on that block are also brought up there. All the ones in that area are not brought up to the street.
Well,
Mr. Wright, could you state your name?
I'm sorry, Mike Wright, Communities First.
Okay, and so you're one of the presenters for the project?
Yes. Yeah. So as I was saying, there are structures in that neighborhood that do actually go up to the sidewalk that are, I don't know what you mean by the area, but in the historic district and by the proposed development, there are, and I don't know that there's a federal Secretary of Interior standards that say it has to be exact same as everything next to it. So I think that's kind of a subjective thing.
On that block, if you go drive around on, also in that neighborhood and look at Genesee Health Systems that was put in there afterwards, they are set back to match the houses. And I know this because I'm looking right at it. So it needs to go with the structures that are right there. The structure is 5 miles out there, 3 blocks down the road, it's not going to matter. You're blocking 2 historic structures there that you're obstructing the view of.
Well, when we designed this building, we've had multiple meetings with the residents of Carrottstown, the Carrottstown Neighborhood Association, and we tried to present we didn't try, but we did present multiple design iterations of this project. Some that were taller, some that were single buildings, some that were shorter, and what we were trying to obtain from these different meetings was the feedback and the insight from the residents of the neighborhood, of what things mattered most and what things could be, meet the zoning ordinance, the intent of the ordinance, as well as the goals of the project as far as producing a substantial amount of, market rate and affordable housing and, quality housing for the neighborhood. And so there's a lot of factors kind of pushing and pulling on the size of the building. And one of the sort of compromises that we presented was, instead of proposing one singular block of a building, which is a typical apartment building, say like the Barrage building or the Durant building, or typical multifamily projects, is that we decided to break it down into a walk-up style structure and into 4 different buildings with space in between each building. And then also the driveways that we have cut into the site plan are at that sort of north boundary along Grand Traverse and the east boundary along University. So that 25-foot space between the building and the property line to allow for these driveway cuts to come into the building are another attempt to try and minimize the impact that the physical building will have toward sightlines toward the neighboring properties. And so we're trying to do our best to break down the bulk of a building from a singular multifamily block to smaller walk-up style building, because when you have the space in between the buildings, then you have a little bit of visibility through the site from the sidewalk to the back parking lot, and allow light and air in between buildings. So I do hope that it doesn't cause too much consternation with this board, since we did receive approval on the design previously and we're not presenting any changes to the setback of the building. And we also have met with the City of Flint Planning Commission's site plan approval process and received full approval on the site plan.
Yeah. And if I could just add something, Kurt, sorry, my phone went out there. This is Glenn Wilson with Communities First. And Joe, I definitely understand. I was listening to the same thing with the question that you asked in the last meeting about the project. I don't even think we were on the agenda, but I think you were asking about the height of projects. What she was talking about was 2 things. It was one about the height of the building, about heights. And I'm actually on the Michigan Historic Preservation Network board, and I'm a part of actually setting up trainings for HDCs. What'd you say?
We did talk about the setback. I specifically asked.
No, I said it was 2 things. It was 2 things. One, it was the height, and then the second one was the setback. And what she said about the setback is if a building is right next door and there is not space there, like if these buildings are right next to each other, and it's if it's adjoining the property lines, so if my building and my house, if it didn't have any break, that parking lot, the entrance breaks up that building, that house next door being dwarfed, because you're still able to see it because of the distance between the 2 parcels, which we did on the north side, did on the east side at entries of the property. And then also from a height perspective, it's not the tallest building, which the other thing is that if we wanted to go taller, which we're not even going taller, she couldn't be at least 1 floor higher than the tallest building in the area for a non-contributing new structure if it was built. So then it's not outdwarfing other buildings when there's new construction happening. Those were the 2 things she said. So it was about setback. It was about being how close you were to the next building, making sure separation there. And we have almost a lot of separation. So if you're driving down the street, it won't block out. You'll be able to see that house because you have that big, large entry.
Yeah, you will see it when you get to it.
What'd you say?
You will see it when you get to it. If I stand kitty corner on the corner of at the gas station there, you're telling me I have a great view of every house there.
You'll be able to see the houses from that kitty corner of that gas station. You'll be able to see the houses.
Yeah, I specifically asked about the setback, and she said they do need to.
Yeah, I know you did, and I've been a part of those trainings as well, so I definitely understand what you're talking about. And we took care of those things with making sure that the building was pushed into the site and not pushed up against the buildings that were next door. So we had, because how far is that drive? How big is that driveway, Kurt?
24 feet from the property line to the building face.
So it's 24 feet between that building. And if you think about how far, that's a very large distance, 24 feet for the house next door. So this is not even something that's adjoining or abutting right next to that property. Now, I would agree with you if we put the building right next to it, and it was like adjoining, like right next door, yeah, then that would probably definitely dwarf it. But there is space.
It's right next door to a couple structures, even though there's a driveway between. It's still blocking those structures. And so I don't like that idea. Okay, and then you're saying that you've talked to people in the neighborhood. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood have contacted me about not liking the way the structure is. And these are the people that have worked years tirelessly making this an historic district and getting this historic district approved. People that have been on the historic board don't agree with the setback of this building and don't agree with the density of the building. Is what I'm saying, and I don't agree with it. I specifically asked her those questions, and she agreed with me that it should be set back further.
Well, it's definitely a difference between. I mean, that's your personal feeling, you know, and we're talking about which that would be something that would be more of a site plan issue than an HDC. So that is something that would be a site plan approval issue. That is not something that would actually be an HDC issue.
Well, no, that is something that is historic district approval because it would need to sit back with the other. That's what Department of Interior standard. And that's what we're here to uphold.
Yeah, I definitely understand, and we do our best to try to uphold as much stuff as possible. And yeah, and just to let you know, I do, you know, as far as like historic district training, I definitely do have a lot of training when it comes to historic preservation. And you know what I'm saying, like I say, you know, I represent the Michigan Historic Preservation Network, and we go around and we do this and make sure that people have training. So this is not something that I take lightly. So if it felt like this was something that was dwarfing, we even shrunk buildings, even though they possibly even could have been taller. So we've done a lot to address these issues. And hopefully when we get to public comment, you'll be able to hear some other people or other residents in the community that feels different. And hopefully you see that all the changes that were made to the design, all the changes, the things that were done, you know, the project has funding, and what we are doing is we work with the community to try to make as many changes as possible. If people wanted to be there, including some of these individuals, if they came or decided not to show up or provide comments, they had the opportunity because we opened it up that as many people wanted to come and provide comments to this particular project. If they had issues with it, they were able to come. And we were able to start making adjustments where we could. So we did what we could that made sense. So we're asking people to focus on, when I say focus, is the changes that were made based off of input from many residents, which were made, which we didn't have to come back and ask for changes to be made. But this is something that we felt as though, because some people in the community said they did not like the design, some of the designs they didn't like, this added over an additional hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs to the project because we added additional brick and changed out materials, added larger windows. So, I mean, I understand what you're talking about, but the thing is, I think you're seeking perfection, and we can't be perfect with everything, but I think we got very darn close to it. So I would hope that you would look at that somebody at least came back even when they didn't have to, and tried to make changes even when they didn't have to come back. Changes added.
So on that argument, I would like to put vinyl siding on my house. So does that mean, you know, it'd be cheaper? It'd make me happy. I wouldn't have to paint it, pay $20,000 every 10 years to paint it. So I should be able to. I mean, I tried to do my best. I did a few years. So
yeah, it's from it's not
that's how it should go. I should be able to put vinyl siding onto that.
I guess the thing is about HDC is not about your person. It's about what we're for. And the thing is, this doesn't have vinyl siding. So
I know I'm using that example. You said you tried your best to do as much as possible to stay in the historic district codes. So I mean, I tried my best. So if I can use that same excuse that I tried my best.
Well, if I can just jump back in, as far as the Secretary of interior
I think we're just
standards.
going in circles at this.
Mhm.
Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion to deny the application.
Is there support for that motion? Is there support for the motion to deny the application as presented? And hearing none, the motion fails. Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes as requested.
And is there support?
I support Commissioner Davis.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion from the commission?
Don't forget public comment.
I won't.
Commissioner Davis, this is Commissioner Davis. May I speak, please?
Yes.
Okay, it seems like this has been before, and every time it comes, changes are requested, and the contractors go back and make these changes that people are saying that's needed in order for them to comply with this. And it just seems like it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We keep sending them back to make more changes. They make those changes that are requested. They come back and then we say, nope, this or that. And also I know that new building that they just built on University Avenue, I believe it's called the Poke Bowl or something like that. It's sitting right there. So I don't know. It just seems like it's just a back and forth thing, and they are making their materials historic as possible. So I don't get it. What's really going on? But that's just my information that I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion from the commission? And is there anyone from the public that has comment? Come on, I know
Sure,
y'all
there
are here for
there are
this.
quite a few of us, so.
Yep. One at a time. We can take you first, Mr. Surface.
Sure, okay. I super wish there would have been a way for us to kind of see the visuals of this, because I know that of the proposal. I think that probably would have been helpful for some of the way that we were, the public was digesting everything that was being discussed. But having seen at least relatively recent versions of the plans, I truly think that we've reached the point where this design can no longer be denied on the basis of historical accuracy. I think there's a lot of reasons to question Communities First as a developer and to uphold them to the highest standards possible when it comes to the way this building is designed, built, and then of course managed once it's there. But I don't think that the design of this building is putting forward anything that can be denied on the basis of historical accuracy. And I have a couple of points I want to make on that. But before I do that, I did want to correct something that Glenn said. There has absolutely been a back and forth between residents of the Carriagetown neighborhood and Communities First, which has resulted in this, in my opinion, improved change design. But that was not an active engagement with the actual neighborhood organization. The neighborhood organization decided as a board to not officially interact with this process. So it was a sort of a select group of residents that worked together. There were sort of relatively open invitations to participate in that, but it wasn't done through our typical neighborhood processes. All that being said, I just wanted to mention a few things that I think are important here. When referring to the size, scale, sense of place, and even placement on the site, again, there's plenty of precedence in the neighborhood for buildings of this size, scale, cladding, everything that are contributing structures. So we have brick buildings that come up pretty close to the sidewalk that are adjacent to homes that are set further back. That is part of what we are protecting. You know, those relationships are part of what we're protecting. So Joe, I love you, but I really disagree with that as an argument for why this can't be approved. So we absolutely have examples of this. The Nash House, for example, sits many feet further behind on its lot than the adjacent Vets Club does. So, you know, and both of those are considered important historical structures. So that relationship, I don't think is as precious as maybe has been stated already. I also wanted to say that the idea of us seeing kind of the sides of these houses or just having open land is also not based in history. That's actually a really modern phenomenon. So at most points in our neighborhood's history, especially during the era that our neighborhood is named after, during the height of the carriage industry and the beginning of the auto industry, our neighborhood was full of buildings. It was full of single family homes, yes, but also of commercial buildings, multi-floor commercial buildings, multi-floor industrial buildings, boarding houses, hotels, multifamily homes, and all of them kind of existing side by side. And while it is true that this exact site, this exact corner where this is being proposed, didn't have this exact building type on it before, the surrounding blocks absolutely did, and in some cases still do. So the idea of that site being empty, or of us having these sort of wide open views to the side facades of the adjacent homes, is a modern phenomenon that's not based in history at all. So I don't think that there's any reason why we should be fighting too hard to sort of maintain that modern phenomenon. Lastly, I just wanted to say that I think I just want to make sure that it is known that Communities First did come to us. They came back and they adjusted and adjusted and adjusted even beyond the things that were dictated by this body. So there were several points where we asked them to please increase the size of the windows or please increase the coverage of brick. Make sure that the way that this is going to look in relation to the neighboring houses isn't going to be too overwhelming or inappropriate. So they have done some of that work. So if you are going to question this, I hope that you're questioning on things like finishing details and stuff like that, and not on anything around this sort of being pushed through, because it has been a process that I and several of my neighbors have been able to participate in. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
This is John Mateen, Commissioner Burnett. Just want to make sure if there's a time limit associated to these public comments. Is that right?
We don't usually have a lot of public comment, so I don't know that we've ever enforced a time limit.
Okay, just wanted to check.
If there is one, I am not aware of it.
Okay, I believe it's 3 minutes, I believe.
Okay. I know City Council has limits for public speaking, but we don't usually have anybody that shows up to speak on cases, so we've never had this issue.
Okay.
But if I don't know if the commission would need to vote on that or if it's already in our bylaws. The city attorney has a position.
Well, maybe at least for today, we could at least ask the speakers to try to respect that without, without holding it firm.
Yes, I am also checking the bylaws. One other note, if Commissioner Hurley could announce himself and in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, if he is attending remotely and from what location, please?
Sure, it's Mike Hurley, attending remotely from Flint, Michigan, and that was me that made the last comment.
Okay. And I'm not sure that it says it in our bylaws, a specific amount of minutes for public speaking. I'm not sure it even addresses public speaking at all in our bylaws, but so I guess, yeah, perhaps we could just ask as a courtesy that maybe public comment be limited to about 3 minutes or so, so that we're all not here till midnight. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this project?
is John Mateen again. I see Derek raise his hand, but I do want to point out we received 2 emails. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, if there are letters that need to be read, we can do that at the end of the public speaking, I guess.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Dorman?
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. I just want to kind of echo everything Cade said. I won't be able to say it as eloquently as he did, but I do agree with everything he said. And I just wanted to really just point out that I do appreciate how Communities First, Glenn Wilson was willing to come meet with us, any of the neighbors, take our feedback, go rework the design, meet with us again, receive more feedback, rework the design again, meet with us again. And, there were several stages to this, and I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that he was doing everything he could to take in our feedback despite the extra costs involved to make sure that it really did fit as well as it could with our neighborhood, the historical nature of our district, and being able to respect that too. I have no problem personally with the setback that was discussed earlier. I think it does fit in with a lot of structures. It's not far enough away from the neighboring houses, as was discussed, to not block the view of those homes. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, not hearing any. Are there any letters that the commission has received or emails, as was indicated, that need to be read into the record?
Yes, so the commission did receive 2 letters. I can read those in.
Okay.
Okay, so the first letter is from Annette O'Malley, Nancy Sinclair, and David White. Excuse me. Greetings to the Flint Historic Commission members. The development proposal before you this month is of great importance to the survival and viability. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Just having a little bit of trouble breathing. Okay, excuse me. This is a district that has lost much over the years to fires, demolitions, and downsizing actions by the city. At present, the Communities First grant at University Development before you is returning again, seeking a certificate of appropriateness, which pretends the fate of what's home to the heart of the present remaining district. Its size and mass will complete an overshadowing of the homes in the vicinity and take on a dominating effect at this intersection of University and Grand Traverse, the heart of the remaining district. At a recent Flint Historic District meeting, the State Office of Historic Preservation led a training session for you as the protectors of historic resources. The significance and the importance of the Secretary of Interior standards to your role were emphasized. These guiding principles are the basis for decisions by each of the commissioners for every decision. As 3 former Flint Historic District commissioners and chairpersons, we are writing today to urge you to look again at the 4 3-story buildings proposed by Communities First as it lines up with the Secretary of the Interior standards. Standard number 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. New construction shall not destroy the historic materials that characterize a property and shall be compatible with the massing, size, and scale of its environment. It's customary to consider the setbacks, the distance from the street that each of the surrounding homes have, so that new construction also would need to replicate that in keeping. Thus, the streetscape is not dominated, but instead it is in keeping with the similarity of others. This development doesn't do that, Instead, the proposed development of 4 buildings sits nearly to the sidewalks and thus dominates the surrounding homes out of view completely at this intersection. All surrounding homes on the block contained in this proposal are 2-story ones, so the massing of the proposed 3-story buildings are out of scale from them and therefore not in keeping with them. Although it's not the responsibility of the Historic District Commission to redesign this development proposal, we feel other more appropriate construction could be in keeping both in size and scale and mass and fitted on the proposed property. We urge you to safeguard what's left of the Carriagetown Historic District and deny a certificate of appropriateness based on the understanding of the Secretary of Interior standards we believe make this inappropriate. Thank you. And it's signed Annette O'Malley, Nancy Sinclair, and David White.
Okay. And there's another letter.
Yes, there's one more letter. So this is from Ken Van Wagner, 27-year resident of historic Carriagetown. Dear Historic District Commissioners, I specifically chose historic Carriagetown as my residence 27 years ago because it was in a historic district. I invested in my home as well as my business, the Good Beans Cafe. I lived in other historic districts and knew there were things in place to protect them, as well as instill a public trust that as a resource, historic districts would remain protected. Here's a brief background of how the National Historic Preservation Act came about, taken from their website. President Lyndon B. Johnson convened a special committee in 1965 that began the process creating the National Historic Preservation Act. Among other things, the primary outcome was that federal projects or those using federal funds were now subject to something called the Section 106 review process, determining whether the work to be done would harm a site, and if so, a way to avoid or minimize that harm. Historic structures that would be affected by federal projects or by work that was federally funded now had to be documented to standards issued by the Secretary of the Interior. The National Historic Preservation Act was tied to a growing awareness of the past and community identity. Many communities realized that there was an unexpected economic force behind preservation. The act helped foster heritage tourism, attracting visitors who wanted to experience the past in ways that no book or documentary could match. The distinctive character of old architecture and historic districts became a powerful draw for many Americans, an antidote to anonymous suburbs and strip malls. That's end quote. Please consider these things when you render your decision of approval or denial on a certificate of appropriateness for the current set of plans regarding the development known as the Grand on University. Please use the recent gained knowledge from a training session for interpreting the Secretary of Interior standards and applying them here. Please remember that you do not have to give solutions to fix concerns. You just need to uphold the standard. This development is not right for this space. It dwarfs all other architecture around it. It does not conform to setbacks around it. Because it is so large, it does not offer ample parking and amenities for the residents that will live there. No play areas, no outdoor space for picnic or recreation. A smaller scale development similar to the other 2 Historic District Commission approved developments, Carriagetown Square Apartments and Rosewood Riverside Apartments or townhomes, would be more in keeping. Both of these developments went through the HDC process and after great effort created the win-win housing developments they are today. Both have ample setbacks, complementing design, family areas including playgrounds and picnic areas, ample parking, subsidized as well as market rate. Shining examples of how a developer can and should build in this area. Please instill the trust of protecting this resource for those of us who have chosen to recognize the value, invest and reinvest, and continue to remain residents of this historic district. Thank you, Ken Van Wagner.
Okay.
Hi,
Is
Heather.
there any other
Heather?
public comment? Mm-hmm.
Heather, this is Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I lost connection there earlier. I've been driving back
Okay.
towards the airport. Beverly said something about Poke Bowl. Poke Bowl is not in the historic district.
Okay.
So that new building where Poke Bowl is, it is not in the historic district, so it doesn't have to apply by the guidelines. So I just wanted to bring that up there. That's one of the differences there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment?
I'd like to speak.
You can state your name.
My name is Paul Herring.
Okay.
I reside at 525 Mason Street. I'm right down the corner of University and Mason. And this building is right across the street from me. And it's huge. I haven't seen the new artwork. I heard that they can use composite materials, which is wonderful because I've been dying to use composite materials on my house. And I'm sure once they're approved for this new project that we'll all be able to use these materials in Carriage County. But it sits right across the street from me. And if I remember correctly, that site has never had a building on it that was more than 1 story. Is that historically accurate to replace what was there with something that wasn't there in size and mass? I don't know. Communities First, you're doing great work in Flint. You really are, but shame on you for this one. Shame on you. The apartments in Carriage Town are gorgeous. The other projects you're doing are fabulous. But this one's sad. This one shouldn't take place. This one was, I guess, denied and denied and denied through your application for pilots, and for you to come back around the back door this way, shame on you. I speak highly of Glenn Wilson and Communities First when I'm out and about. I love what you're doing in Flint. This, not so much. This is a historic district. We have shrunken, and our stock is very, very limited. For a new construction like this to be allowed is ridiculous. But hey, I've got a lot right there on University Avenue, and I'm thinking about selling it to McDonald's or Burger King. And let's see if they can put a 4-story restaurant on University Avenue. Shame on you.
Adam.
Shame on you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that has a public comment?
Do I get a chance to respond to that or no?
I think we can, yeah, the commission can always speak, I think. Certainly.
I briefly just want to say that, there is a lot of, that's the kind of misinformation that I'm trying to avoid. And I was trying to dispel as far as backdoor projects, zoning incompatibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do not agree. And the zoning ordinance, the planning commission, can all attest to the fact that this project was legally approved according to all of the boards and commissions that it's required to go through. And so as a licensed professional, it's my duty to lead clients through the process that's 100% legal. Otherwise, I would be at risk of losing my license. So there was nothing done in this project that was devious or sneaking around. And the property itself is zoned commercial. The building is designed to meet the zoning of the property. And I just want to make sure that, this kind of misinformation doesn't cloud the judgment and cloud the reality of development in the city of Flint.
I'm sorry, I'm a professional as well, and you're misdiagnosing what I said. I never said anything like that. I said you were denied a pilot. I didn't say you were denied by any other boards, but you were denied a pilot. Do you agree?
The pilot has nothing to do with the approval of a design that is compliant with the zoning of this building.
It has 100% to do with what I said. And don't mischaracterize what I said. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay.
I said it was denied a pilot, nothing else.
Okay. Is there any other public comment?
Commissioner Bernash.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out for those that are on their phones, to unmute, it is *6.
Certainly. Anyone on a phone needs to press *6 to unmute so we can hear you. If you're trying to speak, we cannot hear you and we don't know that you're trying to speak.
And I'll just add a couple things. If you look at buildings like the Barrage, the Odyssey House, and buildings that's within Carriage Town, all those buildings, even along it's at Garland Street, that's in that's in Carriage Town. All those buildings have very similar setbacks, and some of them are even closer to the street in our particular project. So I'm just saying, there are projects in the neighborhood. I don't know why. I just don't want people to get caught up on that.
If you could state your name.
Oh, Glenn Wilson. I didn't know I had to do that every time. Sorry about that. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say. Sorry.
Okay. Any other public comment? Any further discussion from the commission?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. I finally got through and I finally realized how, and I would like to address some concerns that were brought up. This isn't clearly about zoning.
If you could state your name, please.
Please state your name.
I'm sorry, this is Nancy Sinclair. This is clearly not about zoning. The zoning did allow these plans to go through. As a former historic district commissioner with over 15 years of experience, you've read my letters. You know that this is about the Secretary of Interior standards. This is about size and mass and scale in its surrounding environment. This is about setbacks of the homes right around it. This isn't about what is allowed in other areas of this district or this town. The massing, the height of the buildings, is totally dominating for this block, for these homes, and that's what the objection is. And based on the training that you had with the State Historic Preservation Office about the importance of the Secretary of Interior standards, again, I'd like to urge you to deny this application of appropriateness. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public discussion or any discussion from the commission? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewinder,
I recuse.
Commissioner Scapani.
No.
Okay, motion carries, and I think because this vote was, this whole project was sort of contentious, perhaps we should cite the Secretary of the Interior's standards. The reason for approval, usually we only cite the particular standard for denials, but I think in this case, we should probably cite the reason. In looking at standard number 9, I don't, and anyone chime in, this is just my personal opinion, if the rest of the commission thinks something different, but I don't think number 9 is applicable in that it talks about historic materials and character of the property. And there are no historic character or property, on that property, on that parcel. There is no historic resource. It's a vacant grass field. It's land. So there is nothing historic on the property, and that's what 9 really discusses, is the specific property. I think 10 is more appropriate, where it discusses new addition and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. So this would be adjacent to historic properties and just a new addition all by itself. And if it were to 50 years from now, if a new commission comes along and realizes this was a tragic mistake and this building never should have been put here and we made a mistake by doing it, if it were to be removed, does it, is the integrity of the surrounding historic properties still maintained? So I believe that number 10 is most applicable and appropriate. If anyone else has a different opinion or thinks any of the other standards are more appropriate, but I think number 10 is probably most appropriate for our reason for approval. Hearing no discussion, I think we will cite number 10 as the reason for the approval for the Secretary of the Interior standards. And I will be in City Hall next week to sign that certificate of appropriateness. Or rather,
Thank you.
Thanks.
perhaps it should be motion to notice to proceed. Because it's a new build, it's new construction, it's not historic. Anyone have any thoughts on that? I think it should be a notice to proceed rather than a certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. All of your time and efforts and everyone's opinion and time here is really appreciated.
Commissioner Bernash, Bill Vandercook.
Yes.
Do you need to amend the motion to add the Secretary of Interior standards?
I'm not sure. I thought we always gave we cited
We always gave a reason
the
for
standard
denial, so I think-
after the vote. I didn't think it was included as part of the motion. I always thought it was just given as a reason after, like a supporting reason in case our minutes or this record is ever reviewed by any appellate body.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, applicant GM LDHALP, property owner GM LDHALP, location 411 Lion Street. Replace existing masonry wall with a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence. Is there anyone here to present that project?
I'm here, John Costa, architect of the project and representing Communities First. Once again, as you recall, we've been before you in the past, getting our approvals to proceed with the various renovations to the building at 411. And if you've been past there, you can see it's well underway. And this is something that came to light recently that we wanted to add to the project. So it's an existing 6-foot high masonry wall that runs along the west property line between the entire parcel and 2 adjacent parcels to the west, one that to the south and one to the north. And the masonry wall, the existing masonry wall, is in very, very rough shape. And with our submittal, there's a site plan and there's a letter from the masonry contractor that's recommending removing it. That you can't just patch in certain areas, that it's significantly compromised and it should be removed. And rather than replace it, we're looking to install the fence that we submitted the documentation for. The property is at the intersection of Lyon and First Avenue. It's a 3-story, mid-century, modernish apartment building currently under renovation. So
Is there a reason that you're choosing vinyl as the material?
the duration, as far as other options, wood or something like that.
Or wrought iron? Typically, when fences are put up in a historic district, typically we don't approve like chain link and things like that, more modern materials. And normally it would be wood, picket fence or wrought iron.
The main reason is the screening, the opaqueness between us, our use, our multifamily use in the adjacent properties. We do have, if you recall, this is a non-contributing building within the historic district, and the west property line isn't visible from the street, from Lyon at all. And then from First Avenue, it just comes perpendicular to the end. So right now, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. Is a 6 foot tall, 8-inch wide masonry wall currently that is at the street. So the fact that we need the opaqueness, just to screen the neighbors from the multifamily residents and parking area, because it is directly adjacent to the parking. And well, that's primary. Yeah.
And we will tell you this, we do have approval from you for the wrought iron fence. So anything that's being shown to the street or anything that you're going to see, all that is still the wrought iron. So none of that is changing. It's just the brick wall. We found out while the mason was starting to try to repair it, that it's a dangerous wall and that it's cracked up more than what we thought, with vines and different things growing up under it. So we were still just trying to get, like you said, the screening there as well. So you won't even see it. Based off, if you look at the plans and how far the wrought iron goes around, you won't even see it. It's really just blocking, and it is like a wood. It should be in the picture, but it definitely does look like wood in the material that we're using on the building. So as far as like it has a commonality as well with that particular building.
So is this fence visible at all from the sidewalk or the road?
The end of it, the very end of it. Or the property.
And how visible, sorry, this is Commissioner Hurley. How visible is it from the neighboring properties?
Well, from the adjacent property, it'll be from their backyard and side yard. They'd be looking.
Okay.
And so
Wanted to make sure.
the setback, how far is it from your building? Like, it'll basically be on the property line. Correct?
It'll replace the wall that's there now, which is at the property line.
Yeah, but the wrought iron fence that you see that's on there, that still remains how the wrought iron fence wraps, and then it has a wrought iron gate. So like all around the building, the entry on both sides, all that's the wrought iron gate. Is just along the back of the building. So if you're pulling up on the building, like, you know what I'm saying? Like until you get up on the building and then you look. So if you're coming down, just say west. So if you're driving west on Lyon Street, I'll just give you an idea. If you're coming west on Lyon Street, you'll see mostly the wrought iron fence until you get up to the building, and then you see what I'm saying, and then you'll see the fence, you know what I'm saying, that goes along the back property line. But all the gates and entryways and all that is all wrought iron. That was approved already.
Yeah, it's Hurley again. My only concern is I don't know that we've ever approved a vinyl fence.
Well, I don't think we have.
And my concern is, what sort of slippery slope that might create. With being right next to a historic property, right? I don't think we would approve it for that homeowner, but yet, just because it's on the other side of the line, Yeah, you know what I mean?
And that's
I'm
my-
struggling with.
That's my concern too. I think that it's a fence, so it's at the property line. It's not the building itself. A new construction building, of course, has lower standards and newer materials could be used on a newer building. But a fence is at the boundary, it's at the border between two property, a historic property and a non-contributing property. And I think vinyl, even though it's got some graining in it, I'm concerned that it might look a little sleek and shiny and polished and fake, not like real wood. It's going to look sort of too pretty and perfect. And I think that could affect, the surrounding properties, the neighboring properties that are historic, just being right on the property line.
Commissioner Bernash, if I could read from just some of the product data that we submitted, as far as the overall look and why this particular one was selected. This is from the brochure that was part of the submittal. Our true texture finish is molded from real wood to deliver the most authentic look available today. Buff-Tech's realistic wood grain textures and rich shades replicate the look of natural wood without the maintenance. Buff-Tech's innovative alternative to traditional masonry walls won't crumble, peel, chip, or crack due to sediment or stain like traditional walls. So it's specifically made to look and feel like wood. It's not the smooth, shiny that you see in like a budget vinyl fence. And there's also there were details that we submitted with manufacturers' data, their details, as far as they showing how they come together, some of the different panels, the reinforcement. So they're made to last. They're made to be durable. They're made to be maintenance free also, the primary reason. But they're also made to look a lot like wood. So,
Is the applicant opposed to using wood?
Is wood not an option?
Wood wouldn't be as durable and as strong as the stuff that we're proposing. As far as like we put it there, it would be stronger than what we're proposing is actually better and stronger than wood. Because also thinking about people parking there and the way that the panels clamp together, the way they'll go together, the lights won't be able to make it through. When he was talking about the opaqueness, and with wood, you won't be able to do that. And so, and wood over time just rots. I mean, you can treat it, right? So we're just trying to see what we can do. And the fence it has a mid-century modern look to it, and the fence matches, what we have going on the particular building. So, I mean, I know that's why we were using the fences, because we try to find one that was as close to wood as possible, and then put it behind the building where really no one will see it, because you won't really see fence anywhere from like the street until like you get up on the property or open the gates and get in there. So I still want everybody to realize there's still the wrought iron entry gates, the man gate to walk in, all that stuff is all wrought iron. It's just when it gets to the back of the property. But we do know that the brick needs to come down. Like there's nothing we can do about that. Like we know that has to come down because it's in pretty darn bad shape once they started working on it.
And you don't want to rebuild a new brick wall?
Well, the brick wall was built later. It wasn't built at the same time that building was built. And then that brick wall wasn't even like an original structure. They built it there later, and it didn't have any rebar in it. So technically, we feel like as though it should have probably never been there like that. So, and the brick is just ugly looking the way it was built anyway. We tried to replace and repair and see if we could have patched it, but it's not possible.
This is Commissioner Scapani. 10 years ago, when we bought the house, I went in front of the Historic Commission and had a conversation because we wanted to put a wood fence, and the fence surrounded by the property was wrought iron by Genesee Health Service, they wanted me to put in wrought iron. It took a lot of conversation to get the wood fence instead of continuing my backyard with wrought iron. I would love to put vinyl on my house, but I can't. I mean, it doesn't go with the area, and I think it should be consistent with everybody else. I mean, I'd be okay with the wood fence or wrought iron. And Genesee Health Service is a non-contributing structure also.
I think the way the discussion is going, we always like to encourage development and projects and not sort of squash projects. But I'm afraid if the motion is made to adopt this project, it's going to be voted down. It's just, I don't know, but that sort of sounds like maybe the way the discussion might be going. So in an effort to try to work with everyone and save the project, if there were to be some amendments to the project, it might be approved rather than denied. Just throwing that idea out there.
Commissioner Bernash, this is Bill Vandercook, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Did I hear the applicant say that he had a permit for the fence because fencing requires zoning, a special permit for fencing, and this fence would be considered potentially what's called a non-conforming. So when it comes down, it would have to adhere to fencing standards. So the district could approve the type of materials, but he would have to hold to the zoning code as far as the size of the fence, height of the fence, the distance the fence would be set back on the property lines.
And the opaqueness of it as well for lighting.
Correct. And I think our issue is the material.
Commissioner Davis, may I speak?
Yes.
I would just like to make the suggestion, as the other commissioners have made in regards to this fencing project, is to either choose wood, wrought iron. If you don't want to go back to the brick, wood or the wrought iron, because when you start talking that vinyl, that's when we're getting away from historic. And you might have to replace it a few years down the line or whatever, but it would still maintain the historic character, and that's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Question for you. I can't remember. Are there any metal fences within? I've seen some of those metal fences. What do you feel about metal fences as far as within the HDC as well?
Are you talking about the ones that look like wrought iron?
It's more like a metal fence that's like opaque. It almost looks like they're just made out of metal.
Like solid panels of metal?
Yeah, yes.
No.
They're smaller, not big panels. I've just seen some of those in the neighborhood in a few people's houses, that's all. So that's why I didn't know if that's something that was approved, so that's why I was just asking the question.
I think if they were here, they were here before historic.
John, John the architect is on. John, what is your thoughts?
As far as the, I would like them to, one, at least approve that this fence, the existing fence can come down. And then we have the option, I guess, to replace it with an approved material. The wood would look the same. It'd be a maintenance issue and it wouldn't last as long. But if the vinyl material is the issue, we submitted something that we thought would perform and look like wood, actually perform better than wood, but look like wood. And if the material itself is not acceptable, I guess the alternative would be a wood fence one that looks just like it, but made out of wood.
And that's what we understand, the need for privacy fence versus decorative fence, that this is in the back rather than the front. It can be taller, it can be more of a solid wall. We understand all those issues, but I think just because it's set so far away from your building and it's pushed so much into right at other people's yards that are historic, that's what I think concerns us, is a new material right at historic property lines.
Yeah, I think we only have 2 property lines that we hit. It's the one right next door because their backyard pretty much goes almost the entire length of that fence. And then the other one is just another house with a small, so we only would be behind technically 2 houses. I'm just letting you know that it's just 2 houses that we run along their backyard. So, I mean, we can consider doing the wood. That's not a problem. I just know it'd probably be a maintenance thing, but I mean, if that's what we have to do, we just know we need to get it down because of the structural problems of it, immediately. But to keep it going, I mean, we really don't want to slow it up. Cause I mean, the project is almost going to be done here pretty soon. So John, if you're comfortable with that and you think we can make the wood work, then maybe we can ask them just to do an amendment that they can just approve us to do a fence with an improved material, so then we can keep it going.
Because if we deny it, you'd have to submit a new application next month, or you'd have to appeal this to Lansing, and it would just slow down the whole project. So like trying to work with you, and I don't want to.
Oh no, I understand.
That's where it kills the project.
Right.
Trying to help you get your fence, but I can kind of see the writing on the wall of how this is going to go.
Yes, Commissioner Burnett, I agree. It appears to be that way. So that's why, right, we don't want to necessarily just say, nope, it's what we want. We're open to, it sounds like we're open to just getting approval, one, to replace this fence with one that is appropriate. I guess wood is what you're looking for. So in whoever's motion, we're looking for the acceptance of the removal and replacement of the fence, and then you guys telling us wood, and to meet all the other, I guess, ordinance requirements for height and setback and what have you. So.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the removal. This is Commissioner Scapani, sorry. Approve the removal and the new fence as long as it was a wood material.
Is there support for that?
Well, you said wrought iron, right? If we decide to do that, right? Just had to be an improved material, right?
That you would be able to put if we approved it, you would be able to put a wood fence up.
Okay.
Is there support for that?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash.
Hello? Anyone there?
Oh, yes. Who is this?
Anyone there? This is Ray Sinclair. From
Okay.
Cary County.
Yes.
You need to have a better preliminary architecture look at that fence before you even purchase that building, because that wall has been in compromise for over 15 years. It isn't something that just happened. And then next of all, you can see that because of the apartment buildings setback from the road, you can see that unless the iron fence that you're putting up in front is totally solid, you will be able to see that fence from many directions. The neighbors across the street, and walking down the street through the iron fence that you're going to put up there, unless it's solid, you're going to see that. That brick wall that was there, I very much think it was original. I don't know where you get your information, and I don't have the information, but it totally fits. The brick is totally the same as the building. It totally fits the whole design of that 60s structure. The last thing is that I know maybe you're not compromised to color, but when I think of vinyl, I think of a white vinyl fence there, and it just seems like it wouldn't fit with the whole brown scheme that brick building is. And I'm curious, why are we using, there's already composite materials that are plastic that are being used on that building. Did that ever get approved? These are just some of the questions that are going by here that I just want to make you aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yeah, I think I'll just voice what seems to be the spirit of the conversation in general. I think
If you could state your name, please.
so sorry. This is Kate Surface from the
Thank you.
Carriagetown neighborhood. Yeah, I think the removal of an existing wall and the idea of replacing it with something that is vinyl would be definitely viewed upon negatively by a lot of the neighbors. I know a lot of us have considered doing similar projects ourselves and were denied. And I think that we were rightfully denied. So I would love to see them come back and consider some other treatments for that wall.
Okay. Any further discussion from the public? Okay, hearing none. There is a motion with support on the floor. If we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So I'll be signing, I guess it'll be a notice to proceed if this is not a contributing structure, it's not historic. So it would be a notice to proceed that I'll be signing next week. So you'll be able to pull your permits. And thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of your input and opinions.
Thank you.
And moving on to the next applicant, Jonathan Hardman, property owner, Nikhil and Devon Properties, location 709 East Street. Is there anyone here to present on this project?
Yes, that would be me, Jonathan Hardman.
Okay, if you could tell us a little bit about it.
The property was purchased by the owners last year. And after having tenants inside of it, we found that there's a roof leak. Upon inspection, found that there are currently existing 4 layers of roof over the main portions of the roof on top of the wooden roof deck. Additionally, there are 2 existing layers on all of the awning portions of the additions that exist to the house. So I have a contract signed and agreed to with Swears Roofing to replace it with a like material, black shingles, and complete tear off and replacement.
So just replacing the roof, tear off, re-roof, asphalt shingles, not changing the slope of the roof, not removing chimneys or anything.
Absolutely not. Replacing any rotted materials and replacing with like materials and like color.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
There's support?
Commissioner Scapani, I'd support.
Okay. Any further discussion from the commission?
No.
Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewinder,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries, and I'll be signing the certificate of appropriateness next week. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.
Next applicant, Derek Dorman, property owner Derek Dorman, location 311 West First Avenue. Is there anyone here to present on this project?
Yes, Derek is.
And if you could tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I reside at 311 West First Avenue in Carriage Town. Currently, my driveway is a mix of gravel and dirt, and the proposed project is to dig that out and replace it with a three-color blend of red brick paver. It will be in a herringbone pattern. It will include the driveway and a small path to the front porch. It would also, there would be a wood fence, I think you can see that in the photo I supplied. There would be repairs that wouldn't as well. Same material and everything, it's just there'll be some replacing some of the fence that was destroyed from the previous owner.
And same location?
Same location, same everything. Yep, it'll look exactly as it did prior to being damaged. Yeah. I'm not sure what else to add. It'll be about 600 square feet, I think, of space. And then the approach, which is currently cement, that will remain as it is.
Okay. Same basic width that it looks, the worn path looks like now, like not making it a double or triple wide driveway or anything?
Nope, it'll be exactly the same size as it is now, same width. Wouldn't be expanding that at all. Just replacing the gravel and dirt with the brick. It'll be 3 tones of red. It'll be pretty similar to the color you see on like Saginaw Street or Water Street.
Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve. This is Commissioner Scapani.
Is there support?
Yeah, Commissioner Hurley, I support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, any discussion from the public? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewinder,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And motion passes, and I'll be signing the certificate of appropriateness next week, so you'll be able to get your building permit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next applicant, Kurt Nicewinder, property owner, multiple property owners, location, multiple locations. I believe this is for some sort of little plaques or signage to be mounted on various structures within a historic district. Is there anyone here to present that project?
Yep, this is Kurt Niswinder. On behalf of AI Flint, the American Institute of Architects Flint chapter. So what I've submitted to the commission is a acrylic plaque with some with text on it that is pretty much very similar to what the Flint Public Art Project is using for their mural art, and in fact, I mean we're partnering with the same organization that the plaques are, the technology they're using, which is kind of like a phone-based app that can access the information that is embedded in the plaque. So that's kind of the purpose of the plaque, is so that you can access more digital information on your phone. And so we created this design, and we have, this is all for the Flint Guide to Architecture, which the American Institute of Architects Flint chapter. We have paper map guide, and we've had one for, I don't know, 20 so years. And if hopefully you've seen it, but if you haven't seen it, we've digitized the guide now. So now a lot of that information is, out there in the internet. And so what we're asking for is the permission to attach these plaques to the particular buildings that are within a historic district or are individually contributing structures of the, of the Flint Guide. Not everything on there is in the historic district or contributing, but we have, I think 15 or so properties that are. And so I want to make sure that we get the permission to affix these, and they're attached to the building or with a 3M double stick adhesive tape, and that has and we've kind of picked this particular product in it because of its properties of it being able to be removed without destruction to the building or surface that it's affixed to. So it's not a permanent plaque that's bolted or anything like that. But it is just a sort of double stick mounted, and can be removed at any point in time in the future.
What are the measurements? How big is it?
Oh, it's like 3 inches by 4 inches. So like a postcard size.
Okay, not very big.
Yeah.
And off the top of your head, do you know which historic, these are privately owned? Like you had to get the property owner's permission, or?
Yeah, I submitted a list of all of the buildings that we have on our Flint Guide. So I know not all of them are historic and, requiring the permission. But yeah, most of them would consist of, for example, the North Bank Center or North Bank Center, Mott Foundation Building. There are a few houses on the list. And so I've not attached any to the historic structures yet. And so my next step would be to ask the building owner if they would be, willing to participate in this process as well. And so if they say no, then, that's okay. And we can leave that one off. But yeah, we'll be asking each building owner for their permission. I don't actually know the short list. Sorry, to answer your question, I don't have it right in front of me. Sorry.
I see it. In your application.
This is Commissioner Hurley. Kirk, and I saw the list. So a couple of them were neighborhoods. Like how would there be something at like an entrance to a neighborhood, or what's your thoughts there?
Oh yeah. Actually, what we didn't actually print plaques for the one for College Cultural and the Woodcroft, just because we didn't really know where we would where we would attach that particular plaque. So right, yeah, actually those did not get printed.
Okay.
And so we'll just have them in the cloud, so to speak.
They'd still be in the app though, right? I mean,
yeah, they're all loaded. Yeah, if it's a small advertisement, if you all download that Pixel Sticks app, you can check out the map. It's already all populated. So just like the art project.
What's the material? It's like weatherproof, I assume.
It's an acrylic. The panel itself is acrylic, and then all the text is printed on a like a vinyl decal, basically, that is attached to the back side of the acrylic. So it has some durability over time. And if something does look shabby or something like that decays, like I definitely take it down. And that's why, that tape, we can remove it without damage.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve.
Is there
Commissioner
support?
Scabani.
Commissioner Davis, support.
Okay, we have a
I'll
motion.
support.
We have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, is there any discussion from the public? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Recuse.
Commissioner Scapani,
Yes.
Okay. Motion is approved and the certificate will be signed next week. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to the next applicant, Joe Spani, property owner, same location, 703 Mason Street. Is there anyone here to present on that project?
That would be me. This is Joe Scabani. So the garage on our house, which is a non-contributing structure, in the 40s they replaced the old carriage barn that was next to it. The foundation, actually, there's tons of brick there still. So if they ever want to dig up and find some more brick, there's like a brick wall around it. But we're wanting to replace the roof, replace some of the rotting wood on there, and replace the one window with basically the same wood window. The roof, we're going to be putting shingles on it that are just like the asphalt, but they would have the solar built in, but it would look just like asphalt that would match the house. That's pretty much everything.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the address? I was trying to find the.
703 Mason.
Thank you.
So roofing the garage and it's detached, right?
Correct.
Set back like in the backyard. Replacing the wood boards and replacing wood trim on the garage door. So not changing anything, just replacing like with like.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
And
Oh,
is
this
there
is
support?
Commissioner Nicewander.
Is there support for that?
Commissioner Davis, support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none, is there any discussion from the public? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Abstain.
Okay, motion passes and I will be signing the certificate next week. Thank you so much. And that concludes that section of our agenda. So now moving on to old business, Michigan Historic Preservation Network training. I've been in communication with them. They said the next training is going to be a little shorter, not 2 or 2.5 hours, but maybe just 1 or 1.5 hours. And they wanted to do it at next month's meeting. So we start at 5:30. I told them maybe a good start time would be 6, which is why our agenda was so long tonight. We could have bumped some of these tonight onto next month, but I knew we were doing the training, which would be an hour and a half long. And so it was going to be a long meeting either way, either this month or next month. So I just was hoping that get all these agenda items out of the way tonight, and then next month hopefully there won't be very many cases at all and we can just focus on the training. they only would let us do one topic, not multiple topics. So I told them new construction, just infill, and new construction, like non-contributing structures, things like that. They wouldn't let us pick multiple things. So that's the one I went with. Hopefully, if we have any of the rest of our agenda, maybe we can get through with it quickly between 5:30 and 6, and then just do the training and be done. Anything else on that topic? Hearing nothing. Next item of old business is the bricks on Saginaw Street update. I think we already got that update as an agenda item, and we already know what's going on there, so I don't think we need to discuss it any further unless anybody has anything they want to say. Okay, hearing nothing. Any new business? Hearing nothing. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Sclafani, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
And is there support for that?
Support.
And we have a motion with support. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes and meeting is adjourned.